I'd like to just show you a little bit of the information about background on the programs, because, you know, most of our markets started up, at least ours did in the 97, but the Farmers Market Nutrition Program, these supplemental nutrition programs from USDA have been around for a while. The WIC program started in 92, and it was set up for getting more fruits and vegetables into households with lower incomes. It was set up primarily for farmers markets, farmers, roadside stands, and it's currently in 45 states. So, you know, it's a big program. It's pretty much in every state in the union. Last year, 2.3 million recipients. They can really only use these coupons at farmers markets, so it's a direct benefit to farmers at markets. Almost 20 million is appropriated for the coming year, so, you know, there's a real opportunity there. The senior coupon in our area is called Senior Get Fresh coupons, but it's a similar kind of program. Seniors with low income have to qualify, but it started out as a pilot program in 2000. It's also currently in 49 states and territories and all that kind of stuff. 20.6 million now through 2012 is planned for this program. And I don't know your experience at the market. Our farmers accept the WIC and the senior coupons. Senior tends to be a lower redemption. They seem not to know that they can use those coupons at the farmers markets. The way it works is that our farmers apply to the programs, both in D.C. and Maryland, and we'll have a market in Virginia this year. They'll have to apply to the Virginia WIC program, senior coupon program, in order to qualify. So they have to meet an application process, and then, again, it's only fruits and vegetables, but then they usually have to go in for a training program. Maryland is really good. In fact, after you register into the program, you do the training the first year. They send by computer every year an annual renewal. It's very simple for farmers. I wish D.C. would listen to that, because they don't. They require farmers to come in every year for a training session. It takes a whole day out of a farmer's workday, and they don't like to do it. So it's a very unpopular program in D.C. It's also, although there's a lot of money in the program nationwide, the benefits to the recipients is, in my opinion, very low. $25 in the District of Columbia, that's per person in a family. So a family of four would get $100 for the season, for the entire season. I mean, that frankly is just not much money. It's $30 in the state of Maryland. And again, farmers are doing that. Food stamp program, you know, it started out as a welfare program in the 1930s. It really became a nationwide program in the 70s. In 1990s, they really started changing it to a credit card swipe program instead of the coupons. Right now, the WIC is still a coupon. The senior is still a coupon program. There's talk about making it be a credit card program, but right now it's not the case, and I think it would take a lot to change it. But the EBT and expanding the food stamps to farmers markets in 2002. In 2008, it was changed to SNAP, but interestingly, in D.C., it's still called EBT food stamps because we are not a state. It was SNAP in the state. So, you know, there's all these variations on a theme that you can go through. But, you know, there's a big chunk of change out there to be had from the food stamp program, because those food stamps, you know, can be redeemed at supermarkets. The average benefit actually in the D.C. area is about $150 a month per person in a family. You know, there was a recent New York Times article about how many recipients in the United States are receiving food stamps. 1 in 8 Americans, 1 in 4 children. I mean, the low economy has really caused a huge resurgence in using these benefits. $60 billion in this program this year. And look at it, I got the statistics for the end of fiscal year 2008. 753 farmers markets accepting food stamps. Okay, USDA reports that there are 5,000 or about 5,000 farmers markets in the country. Wow, look at the opportunity here. Don't have a lot of farmers markets accepting these benefits. And look at the money, $2.7 million, and we just talked about $60 billion. I mean, so there is an opportunity. I do think these programs can bring money into your markets, money into the farmers' pockets, but you got to decide if it's for you. Some states, like Iowa, provide EBT machines to each farmer that sells at a farmer's market. So those farmers are getting free machines, free processing, and are able to use it in a really good way at markets. State of Minnesota, they have not so much that they provide the machines, but those offices that are for the food stamps, usually the Department of Health. Food stamp and the WIC coupons, they work hand in glove with the farmers markets, making sure that they know when they're open, when they've got all the materials. They even have buses that take those senior citizens or those WIC recipients to the farmers market. I mean, I wish in our area the programs work so nicely. Maybe in your communities they can, because you can have a very strong relationship with a WIC office or a food stamp office that may be right in the neighborhood of your farmers market. We have one up in Mount Pleasant, which is near the Adams Morgan community in Washington, D.C. The WIC office is right across the street from the farmers market. And this past year, they were able to get such an increase. They had $30,000 in WIC redemption at their farmers market. So it is possible to make this be a major source of income at your farmers market. So what do we do at Fresh Farm Markets? I mean, we've been accepting WIC and senior coupons since we started in 1997, and every year we try to encourage all the growers that can accept it, fruits and vegetables, to do so. In 2008, we decided to submit an application to USDA, and you've got copies of that application. It's set up for a grocery store, retail establishment, so it's not so clear sometimes how to fill in the form. You can get a lot of help from your local agency, but it's not an application for farmers markets. So we decided to apply for 3 market sites. We applied for the DuPont market, we applied for the H Street Northeast market, and Silver Spring. We were approved at all 3. But then when we decided, we went through a training session, and we saw the paperwork that was required. We saw about giving out the tokens, taking receipts and everything. We thought, we're not doing it at DuPont. We're going to start it at the smaller market to make sure we've got the system going correctly. So we raised grant money to be able to do the program. In part, you have to, at least at the time we did this in 2008, there was not a leasing option for the EBT machines. You had to buy them. It was $1,200 to buy the machine, and because of the merchant that we used, recommended by USDA, the monthly processing fee for the machine, even if you had no transactions, was $45 a month. Okay, base level fee, and then on top of that, paying fees for transactions if you did debit or EBT. You have to hire staff for this because they have to dedicate time to be able to run the transactions, and our market staff are very busy running the operations of the market. There is no way that even in the small markets we could have the market master be the one to do this. Some programs I know, I've been to some markets in Wisconsin, they have a huge volunteer program that does the SNAP program and the redemption at market. If you can do that, that would be terrific, but we could not. So we hired staff, we prepared materials. The application process took so long that we just didn't realize that we just had some very basic materials, just some very basic flyers with our logo on, said that we were accepting these materials. We took them to the agencies. Interestingly enough, WIC and Senior Coupon is in one agency at Department of Health. The food stamp program is another agency. They don't talk to each other. They don't share materials. So you have to go out to both venues to reach them. We set up our record-keeping system, and you've got a copy. We asked all of our farmers to participate in the program. They signed an agreement that they would do so. And we decided to do EBT and debit, not credit. Debit we decided because at these 2 markets, especially Silver Spring and H Street, there isn't a bank close by. So people can't swipe an ATM machine at the bank, but they can use it at the market. So for the debit, we charge a $2 fee because most of the ATM machines in D.C. charge a fee if you're not that bank customer. So we charge a $2 fee. I was so excited the first time we had a charge, I forgot to charge them the $2. I just got carried away. Wow, first one in the market. So we charge that on top. So you want $20 on your debit card, we charge you $22 and give you these tokens that I've sort of passed around a little bit. Separate tokens, $5 tokens for the debit people to be able to spend in the market, and they can get change from the farmer on it. So they don't spend the whole $5, they can get change. The EBT food stamp customer gets a $1 token, and no change is given, but they've got smaller increments, so hopefully they're spending those smaller units. Now, again, the market applied to do this, not our farmers. And these are smaller markets, so they're not quite as hustle-bustle and as busy as some of the bigger markets. But we still felt that putting this on top of the farmers, some who only come with one person to sell, would be too much. It would detract from their sales. So we decided to do it. So again, at our little 8th Street Market, which is in a very low-income neighborhood in D.C. 8th Street Northeast was the area in the city that was burned and rioted when Martin Luther King was assassinated. It's a part of the city that used to be the #2 shopping area and still has not been redeveloped. So there are a strong minority community, Hispanic and African American, and new young staffers that are moving into that part of the city because it's very affordable. It's on a main bus line in the city. There's not a metro rail there, but a main bus line in the city. No grocery store in this neighborhood, no grocery store. So this is one of the main accesses with this market for food. The Silver Spring Market downtown, pedestrian mall, is actually the most ethnically diverse farmers markets that we have. We have Asians, Hispanic, Caribbean, Africans. We've got a huge, so we really liked the fact that we could try it at these two markets to see if we could get more customers wanting to use the food stamps at market. So how did it work? You come up to the table as a customer at the market. We've got all this great signage out there on the farm stand that says we're going to redeem your food stamps at market. You come up to the information table, our staff member's there, she swipes your card, or if you do, well, that was with the double dollars, swipes your card for the EBT and then gives you the tokens that you can use in the market. At the end of the market, our staff person goes around with a receipt book and gives a receipt to each farmer, puts it in a pouch, all their tokens that they've taken, collects the tokens back, gives them a receipt for the amount of tokens they've taken that day. Then she has to send all that paperwork, recording the numbers down, that they did for the transactions. The terminal actually prints out a little, like a credit card slip every time they do a transaction. So there's a slip for each transaction for either EBT or debit, so you can sort them out and know which ones are which. And at the end of the day, she does a complete transaction on the machine, so you know what total activity, and it lists that kind of thing out. She staples all that paperwork together, sends in the receipts, and then that goes to the main office. In the main office, my bookkeeper takes that and looks at how much we're expecting, because this money is going into your checking account. That's the agreement. With that merchant agreement, you agree that it goes into your checking account. So what we need to do is be able to reconcile every week against the monthly bank statement that comes, that we've got that total amount. And it will come out weekly on your bank statements. It will show on the monthly statement, it will show every week which amount, and will show each amount. So for 8th Street Northeast, I'll see what amount of transactions for that. Silver Spring Market. We have both Saturday markets. We're both using different machines. So you'll see on your bank statement every week what amount of transactions were done. So my bookkeeper enters into our accounting system how much debit we expect to get, how much we expect to see from the EBT transactions and from any debit transactions. And that's going to be something that we're going to see on the bank statement the following month. Once we reconcile all that, I then send a letter and a check back to the farmers to reimburse them for the EBT and the WIC that they took. Now, getting that paperwork to work takes some time, so we ask the farmers to be a little patient in getting reimbursed for the money. I can't have a cash box at market where I can hand out cash to them to give it back to them. So hopefully they're saving the receipts. We've got a receipt. Some of them will dispute, and we had a few where a receipt got lost between the staff person taking it home and getting it to the office, and the farmer sent in a receipt and said, I had an additional $30 that you owe me. Well, we just go back through the records, we can check the bank statement, and sure enough, they're right. So I sent another check. So that's how the system works. First year results, doing just the EBT and the debit. Total of $183 for 8 transactions. That was it. That was from July through November. Terrible. We printed up all of these tokens. I mean, it was just awful. We had such great expectations. And we did go to the agencies on a pretty regular basis. In fact, the head of the food stamp for the state of Maryland came to our Silver Spring Market, and he walked around and said, wow, this is great. I had no idea that you had this kind of farmer's market for people, and they could, accept the WIC and the food stamps. I said, well, can you publicize this? Can you tell your agencies? Oh, no, ma'am, I don't have any money for materials or stuff like that. But I'll tell my sister lives nearby. That's not enough. Just not enough. At the same time, we had very little food stamp redemption. We still had some strong WIC and senior redemption. And remember, we've been doing this program since 1997. These markets have been doing the program since 2003, as far as 8th Street, and 2005 since Silver Spring. So every year we ask ask, again, the farmers that are reporting their sales to report those WIC redemptions separately so we know how much there is. The debit usage, look at that, almost $4,000 in debit. So they're using the credit card as far as, because a lot of customers, what they do is they don't come with cash. It's Saturday, they forgot to go to the bank, and so they're using it, and that's a nice convenience. The cost of the program, $3,200 in operating costs reflects the fact I had to buy 2 machines because 2 Saturday markets, so that's $2,400 in machine costs right away. Then the transaction costs that you pay on a monthly basis, and then our little bit of printed materials that we had. And then the staff costs. I had 2 full-time staff at markets to be able to do the program. We did some foundation grant support, but if you look at it, foundation grant support isn't covering the cost. Well, I mean, local food, healthy food, we know we want it to be for everyone. And we thought we could do better at the program. So, you know, the challenges are that different agencies to work with. The WIC people are used to come to the farmers market. The food stamp people are not. Those agencies never had materials. The program is costly, but we'd already bought the machine. So we thought we should try it again. So what we did is, we looked at other successful programs across the country. And that's the great thing about the Farmers Market Coalition. You can get that information from their resource library. We looked at places like New Orleans. We looked at the New York City green markets. We looked at what they did in Minnesota. And so there were some very successful programs. And the deal is they mostly were doing these incentive programs, double dollars programs, where they were giving an additional incentive for those food stamp customers to come to the farmers market to shop with their food stamps. Wholesome Wave is a foundation based in Connecticut, and it is Paul Newman's money, you know, Newman's Own and all those products that he makes. And they have set up a foundation, and their goal is to provide more support for farmers markets to do food stamp programs at farmers markets. And someone asked me, do they care where you're located? Absolutely not. They're trying to fund markets all across the country. So this past year, I believe they funded 10 markets. They started with 5, 10 markets last year, and they're looking to make it 25 this coming year. So there is an opportunity to get in there. Michel Nishan, who is the CEO of the foundation, was at a recent USDA meeting. He told me that there are some donors that are so jazzed by this opportunity to help low-income people that they're going to donate money so that Wholesome Wave has more money to give out to the program. So I urge all of you to look at this as an opportunity to get funding for your program this fiscal year. We also raised additional money because we knew some of the numbers. $2,500 isn't going to cover anything. It's not going to be enough. So we went out to some of our members who longtime supporters of the farmers market, and we've got their mailing address, and said, give us some money for this program, $25 to $100, whatever you can afford. So I raised $2,500 just from individuals for the program. And then there was a DC foundation that wanted to give us a general support grant. I said, can we use it for the double dollars? They said, sure, but if you don't use it all up for the double dollars, just put it in your general operating budget. I got $15,000 from that foundation. So I raised $20,000 to do the program. We also created new materials, and I passed out a little bit of these, but something that's just a little bit more attractive to pass out. You can do them in black and white. We also did them in color. We did them for each market. There were some that had both markets on them. We gave these to the agencies, and we started out a lot earlier doing that because we knew that if we go in July to these agencies, that's way too late. So we started going to the agencies in March. Well, we got very creative with it. In your packet of materials, I know that there's copies of our bus shelter ads, and to chant that it's free, also free, that we heard from the folks in Durham and Carrboro. Bus shelter ads were free. Okay, you just had to approach the bus authorities and say, where can we put these in? As long as you had to pay for the ad, but you would have anyhow because you wanted distribution materials. Bus shelter ads are free. PSAs were free. We printed our flyers in Spanish and English. I know in New York they actually do theirs in Mandarin and Vietnamese. We don't have that customer base, but it was really key to have them in Spanish. And if you can find a staff person that does this program who can speak Spanish, that's really great too. We also had a step-by-step guide for customers on how the program worked that we could hand to them in Spanish, even if our staff member was not so fluent. we created actually an online tracking system. This isn't so necessary, but you could probably do this with a Google program and an Excel spreadsheet that you could just have your staff fill in every week. So it's a lot easier than wading through that paperwork. Somebody's already waded through it, and then your bookkeeper can have an easier time trying to reconcile. We did add the new farmers market by the White House to that, and it was thanks to USDA because they saw our program, saw how we were tracking the information. And I'll tell you, the reason Wholesome Wave gave us a grant is because they knew we were tracking the numbers, being very careful in our record keeping, and that's the history of our farmers market. So that was very attractive to them. So they're going to want to see that you have a good record system in place to be able to track the numbers and share with them the results of your program. The month of October, when we opened the White House market in the middle of September, it ran through the end of October. Month of October, we did EBT food stamp redemption at H Street, Silver Spring, and the White House. And for the month of October, the White House was the highest redemption for the food stamps. And we're like, why is that happening? What we started to do when our staff person came to us said, all these people seem to be professionals dressed for business outfits, but they work in very low-paying government jobs, and they have 4 kids, and they qualify for food stamps. And it's easier for them to come to the market on a weekday when they don't have their kids are taken care of in child care. They don't have to bring them to market. Much easier for them to come and shop and take the food home. So it just, we never expected that to be part of the base of people who would come to the market. So double dollars, that's what we did at market. We created our program materials, and how did it work? The deal is we printed up these coupons, and we had the person actually stamp them with the date. We asked people to use these coupons on the same day that they used the food stamp in the WIC. Not everybody did that. Some people saved them, okay, but it wasn't much savings, but we do know some people saved them. When they came up, WIC was not used to coming to our information table. When they came up to the information table, our market staff person would write down their WIC number and then ask them how many coupons they wanted to redeem that day. Usually it was $10 or $15, and give them that amount, $10, you get 10 of these to use at the market. And the great thing about our double dollars for the WIC people is we did not restrict it to fruits and vegetables. We said they could use it for any product in the market. Any of the food in the market they could use it for. And I'll tell you, it's really heartwarming to see these people who could never afford the cheese, the milk, the eggs. First thing they do, walk across the counter and go and get the cheese from one of our farmers. Or go buy some meat that they would normally not be able to buy with their WIC coupons. We matched up to $25 a day. One of the things, I was worried we'd run out of money for the program. I raised $20,000. I didn't want to run out of money and say, sometime in October, sorry, we can't do it anymore. So it was a $25 minimum, and people were fine with that. They respected that. There's more bookkeeping when you add a double dollars program because EBT, WIC, senior coupons, and then how much did you match with double dollars? You've got to keep track of that as well. But you can add that to an Excel spreadsheet, so it's not so tough to do it. But again, it is more bookkeeping. Lots of questions when people came up to the info table. So what's the gimmick? You're giving me $20 here. Why? I mean, people really thought there was some catch to it, that they, so once they understood that, they're telling their friends. In fact, what we saw is that the WIC coupon people, which was the highest redemption, of course, because they're used to coming to the market, but the WIC coupon people would come with our flyers tucked in their booklets. So that means those WIC agencies were really getting the word out about the program. I just think that, it was a very heartwarming program for me. I love seeing it. So here's the results from the second year. $2,150. Okay, not going to break the bank on that, but still look at from $183 to over $2,000. 117 transactions. So more people coming to shop on what we want to be a regular basis with their food stamps at market. The WIC redemption was up to 12,000. The debit usage also, up. And again, more customers were attracted to these markets. Only $822 in fees. We had this thought that maybe those debit fees would help cover the cost of the program. Well, come on, it's going to take a long time before that will ever happen. But we distributed, which means we gave out $14,531 in double dollars. That was free food that we gave out to customers at the market. And one of the things is we want the market to be accessible to everyone, but we don't want it on the backs of the farmers to be lowering the prices for food. We want to find a way that we can add to the food value there. Program costs are still high. Again, the operating costs, because we printed more materials this year, we won't have to do the design and all that kind of stuff, so it'll be a lot cheaper. But still, the staff is 3 markets. We had to have people. I think that the Double Dollars program really worked. It brought more customers in. It attracted a lot of media. Spanish radio is coming down. They'd never even seen us before, but they're coming down to understand what was going on with Double Dollars. All across the area, community groups. I had one person who was waiting for his wife in the hospital, and there's a senior flyer there. It's a little newspaper for seniors about what's going on. Well, they picked up our press release about Double Dollars and had it all printed there. So, there was a lot of interest and activity about it. It benefits low-income customers, gets them in the habit of shopping at farmers markets, and it will increase the farmer sales. And, it is a little bit of trouble. When we're collecting the tokens and these receipts and then giving them receipts, it's a lot of trouble for the farmers. Maybe at your market it could work that they could have the ATM or the EBT machine for them, but you're going to have to weigh that risk against the fact that they may have to have a person there to be able to do it, as opposed to putting it on their own backs. It does require a lot of administrative work and oversight. But markets, I think, need to be for everyone, and it really, I think, made the food more affordable. A recent study by Project for Public Space, and they've only just printed out a poster for this, but it talked about whether or not low-income people shopping at farmers markets, the price of the food was a prohibitive factor for them. And what they found, they were sampling at 8 farmers markets, but what they found was that low-income shoppers said that actually the food at farmers market was more affordable than the food in their regular grocery stores. But what they also said was they didn't know where a farmers market was, or that the farmers market accepted the WIC, senior, and food stamps. So, getting the word out is going to be really key for these programs. So, I think that we're going to do the program again this year. I've already got some grants in the works to be able to raise the money for the program. It's not a program that we could fund out of our regular operating costs. We've got to raise foundation support to do it. Individuals, I think, will contribute to this program as well. So you've got to find a way to do it.